Imagine waking up one morning, turning on the news and seeing this headline. General Motors files for bankruptcy, 100,000 jobs at risk. Or this, Ford slashes production, cites Chinese EV competition. It sounds like a nightmare, right? But this isn't science fiction. This is the very real future unfolding right before our eyes. Right now, the US auto industry is in crisis. China is flooding the global market with cheap, high-tech electric vehicles, while American car manufacturers are struggling with sky-high production costs, supply chain disruptions, and government policies that make it harder to compete. The question is, can the US auto industry survive? Or are we about to witness the biggest collapse in modern American manufacturing? Let's break this down. So, how did we get here? Just a decade ago, no one believed China could ever dominate the global EV market. Their cars were considered cheap knockoffs, unreliable, technologically behind. American and European automakers dismissed them as low-quality imitations that would never pose a serious threat. But today, the story has completely changed. China is now the undisputed leader in EV production, setting new industry standards. It has successfully transitioned from being a follower to a market leader, producing some of the most advanced, affordable, and technologically sophisticated EVs in the world. Companies like BYD, NIO, and XPeng have mastered mass production, churning out high-performance EVs that cost 30 to 40% less than American models while boasting longer battery ranges, faster charging speeds, and cutting-edge autonomous driving technology. Meanwhile, American automakers, they're struggling to keep up. Ford and GM, bleeding cash, losing billions on their EV divisions. Tesla, once the undisputed king of EVs, now facing an intense price war that it might not survive. And smaller US EV startups? Many are on the brink of bankruptcy or have already collapsed under financial pressure. So how did China pull this off? The answer is simple. They played the long game. Government-backed investments. China funneled over $100 billion into its EV industry, building a dominant ecosystem of battery producers, automakers, and software developers. Battery supply chain dominance. China controls over 80% of the world's EV battery production, the US less than 10%. Manufacturing speed. A new EV factory in China, 6 months. In the US, 6 years. And the result? China is now flooding global markets, Europe, Latin America, Southeast Asia, and soon, the United States, with high-tech, low-cost EVs that are simply too competitive to ignore. So, what does this mean for American automakers? Let's look at the numbers. Ford lost $4.5 billion on EVs in 2023. GM canceled multiple EV models due to weak demand. Rivian and Lucid, stock prices have plummeted over 80% in just 2 years. Meanwhile, BYD, now the world's top EV seller. Chinese EVs are hitting global markets at prices $10,000 to $15,000 lower than American competitors. And guess what? Consumers are voting with their wallets. If this trend continues, the American auto industry could face a collapse, just like the steel industry in the 1980s. Now, Modner, let's talk about the real cost, not just for corporations, but for American workers. The U.S. auto industry supports 900,000 direct jobs and millions more in supply chains, dealerships, and related industries. But if factories start shutting down because they can't compete, mass layoffs across manufacturing plants and supply chains, small businesses close, auto shops, dealerships, and mechanics, gone, entire towns devastated. We've seen this before. Steel in the 1980s, textiles in the 1990s. Now, auto jobs could be next. So, is the US government doing anything to stop this? 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs, billions in investments into US battery and EV plants, policies to encourage domestic EV production. But here's the hard truth. Tariffs won't stop China. They'll make Chinese EVs more expensive, but they won't eliminate their appeal, especially in price-sensitive markets. And building up US EV production? That takes time. Time that the US may not have. So here's the million-dollar question. Is it too late for the US to compete? Some say yes. China has already won. American automakers are too slow, too bureaucratic, too outdated. But others? They say the fight isn't over. They point to new battery tech being developed in US labs, AI-driven manufacturing that could give American automakers an edge, trade policies that could still protect US industries. One thing is certain. The future of America's auto industry is at a crossroads. If action isn't taken soon, we may witness the collapse of yet another cornerstone of American manufacturing. So what do you think? Can the US fight back against China's EV dominance? Or are we about to see the collapse of America's biggest industry? Comment below. Let's talk. And if you found this video eye-opening, hit that like button, subscribe to Econ Atlas for more hard-hitting economic insights, because the future is being decided right now.